Would you support a mandatory environmental service for adults 1830, kind of like military service, but instead of fighting you must spend a few months on reforestation projects or ocean cleanup? Why or why not? Not mandatory, but there was a voluntary program like this in the U.S. in the Depression. It was called the Civilian Conservation Corps. Participants got room and board, clothing, job training, and $30 a month, of which $25 had to be sent home. Most were single young men, so it went to their parents' younger siblings, in exchange for working on various projects on public land throughout the country. The reasons for it were both to provide jobs and because the Dust Bowl had opened people's eyes to the fact that the U.S. was not a bottomless well of natural resources. Erosion was a big cause of the Dust Bowl, and the Dust Bowl was a factor in the Depression, so it all tied together. They were also called Roosevelt's Tree Army, because one of the big things they did was plant trees for erosion control. In my state, they built most of the state parks, a lot of them in areas that had been deforested for charcoal manufacturing and were marginal for agriculture. You can still rent out cabins that they built, and they're great, really attractive, and shockingly inexpensive. I'm actually going to stay in one next week. Some of them have photos from the CCC days on the walls, and it's really neat to look at them and know that you're still enjoying what they worked on. I definitely support a program like that today, but I think making it voluntary is putting ethical considerations to one side, more practical. For one thing, you would have to pay participants, just like people drafted for military service get paid, and it would be very expensive if everyone did it. Plus, having it be voluntary means the number of participants can be matched the amount of meaningful work to be done, and the workers are more motivated. With the CCC, people considered themselves lucky to be picked. $30 a month was an attractive wage, and 3 square meals every single day was a significant perk. So discipline was straightforward. Do what you're supposed to do or get kicked out, and most people didn't want to get kicked out. It would probably take stronger incentives to get the same level of buy-in today, but healthcare and student loan forgiveness would be a good start. Edit. A number of people have asked about how you rent the cabins I mentioned. The ones I'm familiar with are in Pennsylvania and can be reserved at Link. Not all cabins are CCC built, but ones listed as rustic often are. Check individual park websites for details. There's usually a stay the night page with information on the cabins, and sometimes a history page that will talk about CC's role in the park. Rates are based on the number of beds in the cabin and start at $35 a night for cabins that sleep 4. Weekends and peak times are higher, and there is a surcharge if you're not a Pennsylvania resident. The system takes reservations up to 11 months in advance. Some parks fill up quickly. Some parks allow dogs in specific designated cabins, and most parks have at least one ADA-accessible unit. Other states and some national parks also have CCC-built cabins available for rental, but as far as I know there's no nationwide system to find out where they are. I don't support involuntary anything.